he emerged from humble beginnings to save the soul of a fractured nation. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, navigated the deadliest conflict in American history, abolished slavery, and preserved the Union. His life was a testament to perseverance and principle. But his presidency was cut tragically short by an assassin's bullet, plunging a grieving nation into further chaos. Our story begins on February 12, 1809, in a small, one-room log cabin in Hodgenville, Kentucky. Abraham Lincoln was born into poverty to parents who were struggling farmers. His early life was harsh, marked by hard labor, minimal schooling, and personal tragedy, including the death of his mother when he was just 9. But Lincoln possessed an insatiable thirst for knowledge. He famously read borrowed books by firelight, devouring everything he could get his hands on. He worked various jobs, splitting rails, store clerk, postmaster, all while educating himself in law. By 1836, he was a self-taught lawyer in Illinois, known for his honesty and wit. The nickname Honest Abe was well earned. Lincoln's political career began in the Illinois state legislature, eventually leading him to the U.S. House of Representatives. But it was the escalating crisis over slavery that truly propelled him onto the national stage. His powerful debates with Stephen Douglas in 1858, though he lost the Senate race, showcased his compelling arguments against the expansion of slavery. In 1860, a deeply divided nation elected him as its 16th president. His election, seen by many southern states as a direct threat to their institution of slavery, immediately triggered secession. Before he even took office, the country was tearing itself apart, leading directly to the American Civil War. Lincoln's presidency was defined by the Civil War, a brutal conflict that claimed over 600,000 lives. His primary goal was to preserve the Union, believing that a divided America could not stand. He masterfully navigated immense political pressure, military setbacks, and personal grief, demonstrating extraordinary resilience and leadership. One of his most profound achievements came on January 1, 1863, with the Emancipation Proclamation. This executive order declared that all enslaved people in Confederate states were free. It fundamentally transformed the war from a fight to preserve the Union into a moral crusade for human liberty, allowing African American soldiers to join the Union cause. Later that year, his Gettysburg Address, a mere 272 words, redefined the nation's purpose, emphasizing equality and government of the people, by the people, for the people. And in 1865, he tirelessly pushed for the 13th Amendment, forever abolishing slavery across the entire United States, cementing his legacy as the great emancipator. With the Union victorious and slavery abolished, Lincoln looked forward to a peaceful reconstruction of the nation. But peace was not to be his. On the evening of April 14, 1865, just 5 days after Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered, Lincoln decided to attend a play, Our American Cousin, at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. While sitting in his private box, enjoying the performance, a well-known actor and Confederate sympathizer named John Wilkes Booth stealthily entered. At around 10:15 p.m., Booth fired a single, fatal shot into the back of Lincoln's head with a .44 caliber Derringer pistol. The theater erupted in pandemonium. Booth famously leapt from the box onto the stage, shouting "Sic semper tyrannis," thus always to tyrants, and made his escape, despite breaking his leg in the fall. Lincoln was carried to a boarding house across the street, where he clung to life through the night. At 7:22 a.m. on April 15, 1865, the beloved president passed away, the first American president to be assassinated. His death plunged the nation, already weary from war, into profound grief. While John Wilkes Booth was quickly identified as the assassin, and eventually cornered and killed by Union soldiers 12 days later, the story doesn't end there. Booth was not acting alone. He was part of a larger conspiracy to decapitate the Union government, with plans to also assassinate Vice President Andrew Johnson and Secretary of State William H. Seward. The most prevalent theory suggests that high-ranking officials within the Confederate government orchestrated the assassination. While Booth was certainly a fervent Confederate sympathizer, was he merely a pawn in a much grander scheme, perhaps sanctioned by Jefferson Davis himself? Evidence collected during the investigation pointed to possible Confederate funding and logistical support for Booth and his co-conspirators. However, direct, undeniable proof linking Davis or his cabinet to the assassination order has never definitively emerged. This theory is more out there. It posits that powerful international bankers or even European monarchies were behind Lincoln's death. The argument often centers on Lincoln's financial policies, such as the issuance of greenbacks, government-issued paper money, instead of borrowing from private banks, which supposedly angered powerful financial interests. This theory, however, lacks any substantive historical evidence and is largely considered speculative. Less common, but still discussed, theory suggests that a faction of radical Republicans might have played a role. These Republicans were frustrated with Lincoln's more lenient plans for Reconstruction and desired a harsher approach towards the defeated South. The theory suggests they might have seen Lincoln's death as a way to clear the path for their agenda, potentially implicating figures like Edwin Stanton, his Secretary of War. Again, this theory is not supported by credible evidence and is generally dismissed by historians. Lincoln's murder shocked the world, but it couldn't erase his monumental legacy. He preserved the Union, abolished slavery, and articulated a vision of a truly free and equal nation. His words and actions continue to inspire movements for justice and equality to this day. He reminds us that even in the darkest of times, courage, compassion, and an unwavering belief in human dignity can guide a nation towards its better angels. And though his life was cut short by an assassin's bullet, his spirit continues to echo through American history. What are your thoughts on Lincoln's assassination? Do you believe there's more to the conspiracy than we've been told? Share your insights in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more historical deep dives, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story.